Hello everyone, my name is Alex Salinas, and tonight I'm going to be talking about the nuclear weapons of the United States. Now, back in 1945, the nuclear bomb dropped on Hiroshima was reported to be more powerful than 20,000 tons of dynamite, and that was reported approximately 70 years ago. So you can imagine major changes occurring between the technology from then to now, and sure enough, there have. For example, as a segment on 60 Minutes found, the Minuteman III, an intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM, which will come up a lot during this presentation, is reportedly 20 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. And with that in mind, you would expect such dangerous weapons to be kept in top shape and control, and also watched by our most competent officers. However, due to recent articles coming out and recent incidents of last year, we can see that this isn't necessarily the case, bringing me to my claim, which is that the U.S. government has improperly handled its arsenal of nuclear weapons. Now, part of this claim, I would like to say, is supported by the fact that the technology used to control and technology used for the nuclear weapons needs to be improved and also better maintained. And that segment on 60 Minutes, as I mentioned earlier on the Minuteman III, found that the computers used to control and launch them were controlled by 8-inch size floppy disks. And to get a reference as to just how old that is, I had never seen one prior to researching this. I didn't even know they made them that big. However, Major General Jack Weinstein reports that the engineers find this system extremely safe and extremely secure. However, I feel like using the older technology is more prone to fail, and this can also be supported by the fact that the information and documents used to make parts for nuclear weapons has started to degrade, and the blueprints have started to fall apart. And these blueprints are essential to the nuclear weapons construction because these parts, basically a faulty part being inserted, a faulty part being put in them could result in the security of the missile itself. And it was discovered these discrepancies in the documents was found in an audit report from the Department of Energy that was released last March. But the technical aspects and mechanical aspects are only part of the problem. Another part of the problem would be the staff and control. All of that seems rather unqualified or undisciplined to properly handle this job. And a case where this is evident would be a case back in March of 2014, that both the New York Times and Washington Post reported that 92 launch officers had been caught cheating on a widespread proficiency test. These 92 officers were from Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, and they oversaw 150 of the 450 of the country's Minuteman IIIs, as I mentioned earlier. And on top of that, 9 officers who were charged with overseeing this test were fired on grounds that they either knew of the cheating or aided in the cheating of this test. Yeah. And as another article in the New York Times found, there was on 2 times in 2013 where on 2 occasions in 2013 there there were times where the blast door to our supply of nuclear weapons was left open, and this blast door is kept closed to keep terrorists from getting in. It was left open by those who had the officers who had the launch keys, and the officers were found asleep in there in the set. And as I said, this happened twice. And another incident back in May of 2013 involved 17 officers being fired for after safety code violations were found in Minuteman 3s that they were in charge of watching over, as well as rather rude behavior towards the inspectors in charge of it. So basically, a summary: the technology used for nuclear weapons needs to be better maintained, as well as the staff behind it. They also need to be better disciplined. Thank you for your time, and good night.
All right, Alex, the proposition I thought was clearly identified. The secondary points were not as clearly identified in the preview. You actually kind of labeled one, but then the other ones didn't really develop. In the body of the speech, I thought you cited them pretty clearly, but you need to be consistent about that kind of structural sort of thing. The first point, for example, I do know that's the starting point of your argument, but you don't really have a distinctive claim when you get to that point, and that's a little problematic. The transition to the second point was more distinct, it was smoother, and it was easier to see that particular point, and I like that. The reference to the floppy disks is interesting. I do think you need to give us the source citation on that. You've got a quote from the general who says that this is all fine and good, and your response is, well, I don't think it's going to be very good. So, it seems odd that you go ahead and quote somebody who's authoritative, who's saying it's going to be fine, and then the way you reject it is simply say it doesn't sound good to me. I think that you need a little bit stronger follow-up on that, and it shouldn't be hard to find somebody who's going to criticize that kind of technology. On the supporting information on the training issues and on the cheating and on the failure to maintain things, I thought you were much more consistent in citing your sources there, and I thought you had lots of examples that illustrated the points you're talking about. It's pretty safe to suggest that these are things that shouldn't be happening. The frequency with which they happen, I think, needs to be developed a little bit more. You're making a generalization about our situations, and have other problems come up like this. Is this an isolated incident? Those kinds of things. I think it's one of those things where if you told us, well, how many people are involved in this process? How many sites are there? How many people are trained each year? Then we'd have some way of seeing if, in context, whether or not this is in fact a significant number. That would be maybe a way to develop that a little bit more. I thought you had a good summary at the end of the speech. You had a little bit of trouble finding a good exit line, and so I think it undermines the point, because you got a good summary, you got the right argument there, and you just need to finish on that last proposition. So it's pretty clear that we are improperly maintaining our system, and stop there, and instead of trying to good night, good luck kind of thing. All right, thank you.